I was an ordinary illustrator from Willow, and my boyfriend, Marcus, was a privileged heir. In the 3 years we were together, I was always the one making concessions. His mother said my background wasn't good enough for him, so he reduced our public appearances together. I had prepared a cake for my birthday and was waiting for him, but he only sent a message because of an impromptu family dinner. Grace, you're so sensible. I'll make it up to you next time. Then, on the day of my master's graduation ceremony, I eagerly awaited Marcus's arrival, only to receive a text from him. He said he had to accompany his mother, who looked down on my background, to a family charity gala. When he returned that night, he spoke in his usual tone. Stop throwing a tantrum. This is your compensation. I didn't take the gift box. I just said softly, Marcus, the sensible person, this time doesn't want to be sensible anymore. The carefree expression on his face instantly stiffened, and for the first time, a flicker of panic appeared in his eyes. Later that night, the door to the mansion finally opened. Marcus walked in, carrying the cold air and the smell of alcohol. Seeing me still sitting in the living room, he frowned. Why didn't you come to the airport to pick me up? His tone held its usual entitlement. My last shred of fragile hope instantly turned to ice. I thought you'd be sorry you missed my graduation ceremony. He paused, then irritably tugged at his tie. It's just a graduation ceremony. My mom's side had the family charity gala, how could I not go? He seemed to think this reason was perfectly reasonable. Grace, don't be so insensible. He walked over and casually pulled a velvet box from his pocket. He opened it to reveal a diamond necklace. A graduation gift. Don't say I don't value you. With that, he impatiently pressed it into my hand. Just like before, he only ever used gifts to appease me. Immediately, an excited look appeared on his face. Oh, by the way, my family just secured a new project, a resort island in Southeast. Tomorrow night we're having a celebration party at the Summit Club. My buddies will all be there, and I want you to come with me. His gaze fell on me, and his frown deepened. Why do you always wear such cheap clothes? It makes people think I have bad taste. His tone carried unconcealed disdain. I looked down at the knit sweater I was wearing, and a pang of bitterness suddenly swelled in my heart. Didn't I buy you a black dress last week? Wear that when you come with me tomorrow, he said, as if it were taken for granted. 3 years. He had never asked me what color or style I liked. He only dictated my choices on what to wear so I could stand beside him according to his aesthetic. And I always comforted myself, thinking perhaps what I wore truly wasn't attractive, which was why he so forcefully dictated my choices. I took a deep breath, ignored him, and simply picked up the design drafts on the table, handing them to him. I entered an online competition, and the deadline is the day after tomorrow. I want to stay home tomorrow and finish my drafts. Marcus's expression instantly froze, his face filled with astonishment. What did you say? He hadn't expected me to refuse him. I said, I'm not going. He looked at the drawings in my hand, pulled them away from me, and casually flipped through them. Can these design projects of yours be more important than my project? His dismissive tone made it sound like a trivial matter. I looked at him and suddenly found it very amusing. He never considered me an independent person, looking down on my work, my hobbies. In his eyes, they were just a hobby to pass the time. At that moment, I became inexplicably clear-headed. Marcus, you go by yourself. My voice was very soft. The astonishment on his face quickly turned to anger. Grace, don't be ungrateful. With a bang, he stormed out, slamming the door. The loud crash echoed through the mansion. But for a long time, not chasing after him as I usually would. Instead, I picked up the necklace and placed it in a box at the bottom of the closet. Several unused gifts he had given me were already piled there. I sat back down, turned on the desk lamp, and continued drawing my designs. I moved out of his house. With the scholarship money and freelance earnings I had saved, I rented a 30 square meter small studio apartment near the school to use as both a studio and a room. It wasn't luxuriously decorated, but it was clean and cozy enough. I lied to Marcus, telling him I needed to return to the library frequently for my graduation thesis and would temporarily stay at school. In reality, I spent every day in this private space that was solely mine. I drew here, took on small freelance design jobs, and when I was tired, I lay on the small, modest bed beside me. The small space was a bit cramped, but it brought me peace of mind. One day, I was rushing to finish a poster when Marcus's phone call came through. Grace, are you in the library again? His voice, even through the receiver, conveyed impatience. You haven't come back for days? My mom is coming over tomorrow. My fingers, holding the stylus, paused. Understood. Come back early today, do you hear me? His tone was commanding. He hung up immediately after speaking. The next day, as I stepped into the familiar mansion, Eleanor was wearing white gloves, scrutinizing every corner of the house with a critical eye. Two housekeepers followed behind her, not daring to breathe. Seeing me, Eleanor's gaze lingered on me for 2 seconds, a look of unconcealed disdain. Finally, her eyes fell on the drawing tube I had casually placed on the console table in the foyer. Marcus. She didn't look at me but spoke to Marcus, who was coming downstairs. How can we have such messy things in the house? Marcus's face changed. He quickly walked over, grabbed my drawing tube, and hid it behind his back. He gave me a look and whispered, "Hurry and make some tea for Mom." I stood still. My gaze passed Marcus's reproachful face and went straight to Eleanor. "Ms. Eleanor, those aren't messy things." My voice was not loud, but in the quiet living room, it was crystal clear. "That's how I make a living." Eleanor stopped, elegantly wiping her fingers. She looked directly at me, her eyes holding their usual arrogance. Marcus became anxious. He pulled me behind him. "Grace, what's wrong with you? What are you talking about?" He reprimanded me while forcing a smile at his mother. "Mom, she doesn't mean it that way. She's a designer, a bit single-minded and speaks her mind." With that, he took Eleanor's arm and, coaxing and persuading, led her to the garden, explaining something continuously. Soon after, my phone vibrated. It was a WhatsApp message from Marcus. "Grace, are you crazy? Now you dare to talk back to my mom? Do you have any idea how much effort I put in just to make her change her opinion of you even slightly?" I looked at the message and suddenly found it somewhat amusing. I didn't reply. Instead, I silently opened my phone and deleted the studio address, word by word. He absolutely couldn't know about that place that was solely mine. Opportunity found its way to me. A niche brand called Dream found my portfolio on an online designer platform. They wanted a complete brand visual overhaul but had a limited budget and couldn't afford a large agency. They stumbled upon my design philosophy, which perfectly matched their needs, and hoped to collaborate with me. I saw photos of their products and was intrigued. I locked myself in the studio for an entire week, pulling several all-nighters. From the logo and packaging to the overall visual identity of their online store, I developed a comprehensive proposal. When I sent the proposal to them, the person in charge was silent for a long time. Just when I thought I'd messed up, the phone rang. His voice barely contained his excitement. "Miss Sue. Miss Sue. This is exactly what we wanted. No, it's even better than what we wanted." We hit it off immediately. They promptly paid a six-figure advance. When the bank text message notified me of the deposit, I was sitting on the small, modest bed in my studio, eating instant noodles. As I looked at that string of numbers, my heart swelled with joy. It turned out I could accomplish something all on my own, and I did it. With that money, I immediately bought a computer and monitor with better specifications. The day I moved the machines upstairs by myself, I was sweating profusely, but my heart felt incredibly free. That night, Marcus sent a message asking me to come back to the mansion. He and his friends were having a get-together there. As soon as I entered, I heard one of Marcus's good buddies sarcastically say, "I hear Grace is still doing art stuff. Can that stuff actually make money?" His tone was clearly mocking. Marcus, legs crossed, a cigarette between his fingers, replied with an arrogant, unfamiliar tone. "She's just dabbled in it, I support her. Does she need to make money from that?" In that instant, the laughter in the living room became incredibly jarring. My insistence on independence, in their eyes, was nothing but a joke. I turned around without a word and forcefully shut the door. The laughter in the living room stopped abruptly. Soon after, Marcus rushed out and grabbed me, his face full of fury. "Grace, what was that about? Making a scene in front of my buddies?" I didn't argue with him. I just silently opened my phone, clicked on the balance displayed in my banking app, and showed it to him. He stared at the number, a flicker of shock in his eyes, followed by a cold scoff. "So, you're hot stuff now, making a scene over this little bit of money?" I slowly turned off my phone screen. At that moment, I was clearer than ever. The difference between us was never money. It was respect. I moved out of Marcus's mansion. Without a dramatic argument. I simply called a moving service while he was at the office and moved my few belongings into my rented apartment. The moment I closed the door, I felt a sense of ease I had never experienced before. Marcus discovered I had moved out that evening. He started calling me frantically, but I didn't answer a single call. Messages popped up one after another. "Grace, are you done playing games? There's a limit to throwing a tantrum. Come back immediately." I immediately blocked him on WhatsApp. Finally, I got some peace and quiet. The next evening, he cornered me downstairs from my apartment. He had probably managed to find my rental address through the school's connections. He looked a bit tired, it was rare to see dark circles under his eyes. He grabbed my hand, his grip frighteningly strong. "Alright, stop messing around and come back with me." He thought I was just throwing a tantrum, waiting for him to appease me. "I found you a job at my mom's company, she agreed to let you work there." He lifted his chin, as if announcing a great favor. "She agreed to let you start as a graphic design assistant at Elegance, one of Vance's subsidiaries. Go report tomorrow, I've already made arrangements." He hadn't asked for my opinion but had already made all the decisions for me. I shook my head, looking at him calmly. "No, I can't. My studio has taken on projects, and I'm busy." Marcus's expression instantly darkened. He saw my refusal as a challenge to his authority. "Grace, don't be ungrateful. So many people are desperate to get into our company. What kind of shoddy studio is that? How much money can it make? Is it as respectable as working for Elegance?" The next day, despite my protests, he roughly shoved me into his car and drove directly to Vance's company headquarters. He forcibly pulled me into his mother's office. Eleanor was sitting by the huge floor-to-ceiling window, elegantly sipping her coffee. Seeing us, her face showed no particular emotion, she just gestured for me to sit down with her eyes. "The contract is there, take a look." Marcus triumphantly pushed the contract towards me. The position stated 3 words, administrative assistant. She set down her coffee cup, her voice understated. "We don't currently have openings in design. You can start by doing menial tasks, familiarizing yourself with the environment and rules of a large company. It will be good for you." I looked up, meeting Eleanor's scrutinizing gaze directly. "So, Ms. Eleanor, your meaning is that my master's degree from a top university is just for learning to do menial tasks?" Eleanor's expression froze, she clearly hadn't expected me to retort so directly. Marcus immediately tried to smooth things over. "My mom means well, get familiar with the environment first, and later there'll be opportunities for a transfer." I looked at him, my eyes cold. "For my good? Or to make it seem like you have control over me in front of your mother? You?" Marcus's face flushed crimson, cornered by my words. Seeing this, Eleanor scoffed. "Marcus, I told you she's too proud and not grateful. The platform the Vance family provides, for a girl from a modest background like her, is something she could never achieve in this lifetime, isn't it?" Watching mother and son play along, I felt like a complete joke. He dismissed my profession as worthless, yet he dragged me here to do menial tasks. I looked at the resume and a copy of my portfolio in my hand, intending to use the results of my hard work to prove my capabilities to them. Now, it felt utterly ironic. Facing's contemptuous gaze and Marcus's hypocritical "for your own good" expression, I genuinely didn't understand why I was still holding on. The anger and disappointment in my heart, at this moment, strangely subsided, replaced by an unprecedented clarity. In front of them, I tore the resume I had brought, page by page. The crisp tearing sound was particularly jarring in the quiet office. Marcus stared, wide-eyed. "Grace, are you crazy?" A crack finally appeared in Eleanor's perpetually elegant composure. I looked at them and said, word by word, "Thank you for your concern, Ms. Eleanor, but with my abilities, I truly don't deserve this job." With that, I turned and left. Just as I walked out of the company entrance, my phone rang. It was the head of Dream, his voice so excited it was practically cracking. "Miss Sue, we're huge. We've exploded." Before I could react, his incoherent voice came crashing through the receiver. It turned out that a food blogger with 1 million followers had accidentally stumbled upon their store. Captivated by Dream's unique packaging and brand story, she posted a video on TikTok that very night, and it garnered over 1 million likes overnight. Dream's online store was instantly overwhelmed, and all products sold out. "Miss Sue. Oh my god, my inbox is now full of collaboration inquiries from new clients, all coming to us because of Dream. Go check your studio email, it's probably overwhelmed too." I hung up, my heart pounded wildly, it felt incredibly surreal. Meanwhile, on Marcus's social media feed, things had also exploded. His childhood friend, Alex, posted 9 panel photos, lavishing praise. "Holy cow! What kind of divine pastries are these? The packaging design is absolutely brilliant. The aesthetic and style blow all those big brands out of the water." Someone commented below, "This design is truly amazing, which company did it? Doesn't look like those flashy, generic brands on the market. It has something special." Alex replied in the comments section and tagged Marcus. "Is this design from your family's company? Your taste is pretty good. I looked at the tag, and a faint smile played on my lips. A few minutes later, a WhatsApp message from Marcus popped up, as I had already blocked him from phone calls. Is that you? I opened it and replied with one word. Yes. Then, I long pressed his profile picture and blocked him on WhatsApp. The whole world seemed to quiet down considerably. Marcus showed up at my door again. This time, the impatience was gone from his face, replaced by an attitude of someone specifically there to appease a pet throwing a tantrum. I told my mom to let you be a designer, all right? I was somewhat speechless. He spoke as if he was bestowing some great favor upon me. I forcefully pulled my hand away from his. No need, Marcus. Your family's company is not good enough for me. I don't have the ability to work there, and I don't want to join. I threw his words back at him, exactly what he had said in front of his mother. He froze, clearly not expecting me to refuse him again and again. But his inherent pride wouldn't allow him to simply back down. So he stared at me for a while, his tone returning to his usual calm. Don't say things in anger. I'll give you time to cool off. Think it over and then find me. With that, he turned and left, as if convinced I would eventually come back to him, with an air of indifference. Dream's sudden success opened a new door for me. Numerous collaboration offers came pouring in. Seizing the opportunity, I quickly registered my company and moved out of my private space into a larger studio. Thus, my design company, Epiphany, was officially established. 6 months later, a nationwide new brand and design was held in Harmony City. As a representative of emerging designers, I was invited to give a speech. Standing under the spotlight, I confidently and calmly shared Dream's brand journey from inception. Below the stage sat hundreds of brand owners and investors from across the country. My gaze swept over the first row, and I saw a familiar figure. Marcus. As a representative of Vance, he also attended this summit. He sat in the very center, staring blankly at me on stage, as if this version of me was completely unfamiliar to him. He probably never imagined that I, the one who just dabbled in design projects, would stand on such a stage. In such a capacity. When the speech ended, thunderous applause erupted. As I walked off the stage, I was immediately surrounded by enthusiastic investors. Miss Sue, your presentation was brilliant. Your design philosophy is truly cutting edge. Are you interested in discussing it further? Just as Mr. Robert, a well-known investor, and I were exchanging business cards, Marcus suddenly rushed over. He stepped past Mr. Robert and stood in front of me, his voice urgent and uneasy. How are you here? Mr. Robert patted his shoulder. He clearly knew Marcus. Mr. Vance, nice to meet you. Let me introduce you. This is the founder of Epiphany. The future of the design world will be looking to her. Do you two know each other? Marcus's face changed several times. He opened his mouth, his Adam's apple bobbed a few times, but he didn't answer. Mr. Robert sensed the awkward atmosphere and gave an understanding smile. Then you two chat. Miss Sue, we'll connect later. The people around us gradually dispersed, leaving just the two of us standing in a corner of the venue. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong, pulling me aside, and lowering his voice, almost shouting. Why didn't you tell me you were making such a big move, starting a company? His eyes were filled with uncontrolled questions. Grace, you wanted to leave me a long time ago, didn't you? We haven't even broken up. I looked at his absurd accusations and suddenly found it somewhat amusing. I told you I was working, but you thought I was just playing around. And I thought we were already over. I calmly pulled my hand away. He stumbled slightly, and all color drained from his face. Mr. Vance, please excuse me, I have an interview to prepare for. Pushing him aside, I turned and walked towards the VIP lounge. After that, Marcus started desperately trying to reach me. Phone calls, text messages, even through our mutual friends. It was nothing but questions, confusion, eventually turning into almost desperate pleas. Grace, let's talk. I was wrong. I shouldn't have disregarded your work. Come back, let's start over. I looked at those messages and only felt a sense of irony. He finally realized I wasn't just throwing a tantrum, I truly wasn't planning on going back. So, he changed his approach. He sent someone to deliver a letter of intent to invest in my company, with the condition that he would hold a 51% stake, gaining controlling interest. He was still the same, always using money to solve everything. I had my assistant decline. A few days later, an unexpected person asked to meet me. Eleanor. It was in the same restaurant where we first met. She was still elegant, with a hint of cautious probing in her eyes. She no longer mentioned me coming to her company to do menial tasks. She pushed a check across the table. I looked down, the number on it was 5 million. Grace, I misjudged you before. She actually spoke to me gently. I never thought you had such capability, building your career so well. She paused, picked up her coffee cup, masking a slight awkwardness. Take this money, consider it my support for your career. She paused, then changed her tone. Marcus, he's never faced setbacks since childhood. This time, he truly understands his mistake. He genuinely loves you. You two should work things out, okay? I smiled. She saw these 5 million as the price for me to return. Thank you, Ms. Eleanor. Eleanor's face revealed a satisfied smile. She thought I had compromised. I looked at her and continued, this money, I will consider it your seed round investment in my company. As for Marcus and me, we're already over. Eleanor's smile froze on her face. I put the check in my bag and stood up. Ms. Eleanor, I have something else to attend to, so I'll be leaving now. I turned and left, leaving her with a look of shock and embarrassment. She probably expected me to be the same grateful girl from a modest background who would readily accept a little sweet talk and an offer. I used the 5 million to quickly expanded my team and signed 2 major clients with even greater potential than Dream, one of whom was Vance's competitor. When learned that I had taken his mother's money but still refused to reconcile, and that I had used the funds entirely for company expansion, he stormed directly into my company, enraged. Like a provoked lion, he paced back and forth in my office. Grace, what exactly do you want? His eyes red-rimmed, he demanded. My mom gave you money. 5 million. Isn't that enough? What more do you want? I motioned to my assistant to pour him a glass of water. Mr. Vance, please calm down. I sat behind my desk, watching his composure unravel. This is your mother's investment capital for my company. We signed a formal agreement. I stood up and walked towards him, my gaze calm and firm. Furthermore, if you're only here to discuss personal matters, we have nothing to discuss. Please don't disturb me again in the future. Security, I said into the intercom. Marcus was completely enraged by me. His logic of solving everything with money and power completely failed when it came to me. So, he shed his facade. He leveraged his family's connections to pressure all the printing factories and material suppliers my company worked with. Overnight, my entire supply chain was completely severed. The printing factories that had signed contracts preferred to pay breach of contract penalties rather than take my orders. Ongoing projects were forced to halt, and the company plunged into an unprecedented crisis. Employees were panicking, and an uneasy atmosphere hung over the company. Marcus's phone call came through then. He had probably calculated that I was at my wit's end. On the other end of the line, his voice carried an unconcealed, triumphant smugness. How's it going, Miss Sue? He deliberately emphasized the words Miss Sue. Do you know now who's in charge in this city? Beg me, and I'll solve all of this for you. Listening to his smug voice, a strong sense of disgust welled up in my heart. I hung up immediately and booked a flight that afternoon, flying overnight to Harmony City. There was a top-tier garden-style factory there, specializing in specialty paper and traditional printing techniques. I had previously given up on working with them because their quote was too high, exceeding my budget. I found the factory owner, Mr. Hayes, a man devoted to traditional craftsmanship. I didn't elaborate on my predicament. I simply presented the finished designs for Dream and the complete proposals for my next 2 projects to him. Then, I offered Eleanor's $5 million investment agreement as collateral. Mr. Hayes, all my funds are here, and I'm willing to use them entirely as an advance payment. I only have one request, an exclusive partnership. I need your finest craftsmanship and best paper. Mr. Hayes reviewed my designs, then looked at me. He was silent for a long time before slowly speaking. Young lady, you are remarkably bold. Your designs are worthy of our exquisite craftsmanship. We signed an exclusive partnership agreement on the spot. Although the costs doubled, the product quality also achieved a groundbreaking leap. A week later, I returned to the company with brand new samples. When those new products, which used fine brocade fabrics as packaging covers and featured brand stories printed with letterpress printing, were presented to clients, everyone was stunned. After the products launched, the market response was even more enthusiastic than with Dream. Because of this crisis, Epiphany ironically completed a do-or-die brand upgrade, directly establishing itself in the top tier of high-end design. The suppliers who had previously turned their backs on me, seeing my new products selling out completely and generating astonishingly high profits, came flocking back, wanting to collaborate with me. I had my assistant decline all of them. Epiphany will never partner with those who break trust. Word also spread through the industry about Marcus's actions to suppress his ex-girlfriend's company. Many privately mocked him for being petty, for playing dirty when he couldn't win, and for using crude tactics. Vance's stock price was significantly affected because they had invested in one of my competitor companies, while my company was thriving. Rumor had it that Marcus was given a severe dressing down by his father at the board meeting. He tried to destroy me, but in the end, he only made himself a laughingstock. Marcus started following me. The coffee shop below my office, the parking lot, even late at night when I returned home, I could always see that familiar Porsche in my rearview mirror. He had lost so much weight he was gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes, and a look of obsession. He started sending me old photos. The street food cart on the University District's main street where we used to go. The sketch I drew of him at my graduation ceremony. And the first birthday gift I ever gave him. But these images that once stirred my heart now struck me as utterly ridiculous. This afternoon, as I was reviewing packaging details for the new products, an unknown number called. Grace. It was Eleanor. Her voice was sharp. What do you intend to do to Marcus? Are you satisfied with destroying him like this? I put the phone on speaker, placed it on my desk, and continued circling revisions on the design drafts. Ms. Eleanor, I think you're mistaken. Your son has been harassing me. I'll give you 10 million. Take the money and leave this city. Never appear before us again. Money again. Do they, the Vances, really think money can solve everything? I chuckled softly. Ms. Vance, the previous 5 million was an investment payment under a formal agreement. For this 10 million, are you planning to go through the gifting process? I might need to consult the tax authorities on how to declare personal income tax. There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by an exasperated roar. Don't refuse a friendly offer and suffer the consequences. Grace, do you really think my family can't touch you? I hung up. There's no point talking to a crazy person. Given their arrogance and stubbornness, I figured they'd pull something even crazier. A few days later, my most capable assistant, Sarah, walked into my office with red-rimmed eyes. She gently placed a resignation letter on my desk. I put down the documents I was holding and looked at this girl who had fought alongside me all this way. Why? Sarah's tears immediately began to stream down her face. Sobbing intermittently, she confessed the truth. Marcus had approached her and blackmailed her into handing over confidential design drafts for our next core project by threatening her father's promotion opportunity in his public sector job. This project was our company's first major collaboration after its brand upgrade. If leaked, we would not only face hefty fines, but Epiphany's newly established reputation would also be ruined. Miss Sue, I'm sorry. My parents have worked their whole lives for me. I can't ruin my dad's future. But I also don't want to betray you. Sarah was crying so hard she could barely breathe. My inner rage, upon seeing her trembling shoulders, instead gave way to a strange calm. I pulled out a tissue, handed it to her, and gently patted her shoulder. Don't cry. I looked towards the Vance building outside the window. He wants it, doesn't he? We'll give him a grand present. Following my instructions, I had Sarah send an urgent design draft I had whipped up overnight to Marcus via encrypted email. 2 days later, Vance's company website and major financial media outlets proudly announced a strategic partnership with an international luxury brand to jointly launch a limited edition product featuring rich cultural heritage elements. The press release was accompanied by several exquisite concept images. And those images were precisely the versions Sarah had leaked. As soon as the news broke, Vance's long stagnant stock price soared in response. Several media outlets praised Marcus for turning the tide and displaying extraordinary business acumen. My phone vibrated. It was a text message from Marcus, every line conveying his unbridled arrogance and triumph. See you at the press conference. Grace, I want you to watch firsthand how you lose everything. I looked at the screen and slowly typed 2 words. All right, see you at the press conference. I will definitely be there on time to present you with the most precious gift. Vance's press conference was set in the city's most expensive grand ballroom. Media and celebrities gathered. Marcus, as the project manager, stood on stage, seeming once again like the all-powerful Vance scion. I was also invited to attend and sat in the first row. Mr. David from Uanda Group, my important partner for the next project, sat beside me. He leaned over and lowered his voice. Miss Sue, it seems Mr. Vance is going all out. Has he really struck gold? I smiled at him. Mr. David, don't rush. Let's watch first. As the press conference reached its climax, Marcus unveiled the final product. When the product images appeared on the big screen, a hush fell over the room, then murmurs gradually grew louder. Some people were already comparing the product on the big screen with images on their phones. The product images on the screen bore over 80% similarity in their core elements to designs I had previously created for another charity project. A reporter on the spot posed a pointed question, "Mr. Marcus, does your design here constitute plagiarism of the mountain sea previously released by Epiphany?" As far as I know, Ms. Grace publicly announced giving up all copyrights to that work, making it freely available for commercial use by anyone. Marcus's face instantly went pale. He looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. I subtly raised the champagne glass in my hand towards him. Yes, it was indeed the charity design I had publicly released and relinquished the copyright for. He aimed to steal my future, yet I had only offered him my past. He thought he held a trump card, but it was just a blank sheet of paper. Corporate theft, and of an openly available work no less. Vance's reputation was utterly annihilated that day. This was me truly pulling the rug out from under him. The press conference devolved into a farce. Vance's stock plunged immediately. 3 months later, my company successfully secured its series of funding. At the celebration party, as I was giving my speech as the founder, the grand ballroom doors were abruptly pushed open. Marcus burst in. He looked utterly worn out, a shadow of his former self. In front of everyone, he rushed to the stage. He dropped to one knee with a thud. He pulled a diamond ring from his pocket, his voice choked, almost a plea. "Grace, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I love you, I can't live without you." He held the ring up high, announcing loudly to all the media and investors present. I'll give up my inheritance from the Vance family. I'll cut ties with my mother. I want nothing, I just want you back by my side." His desperate plea, a stark contrast to his former arrogance, was now nothing but bitter irony. I didn't look at him, simply casting a glance at a nearby security guard. I took the champagne from the MC and raised my glass to all the employees below the stage. "Thank you all for coming tonight, and I also want to thank all the experiences I've had in the past. They've taught me that a woman's most reliable sense of security always comes from within herself." I looked at Marcus, struggling as the security guards escorted him towards the exit, his face etched with despair and resentment. I smiled and spoke my final words. "To our independence and strength, cheers." The next day, news of Marcus storming the venue and kneeling to propose spread like wildfire across the internet. Vance's stock plunged again. I heard that Marcus's father, the chairman of Vance, was so enraged he suffered a heart attack on the spot. The family had become a complete laughingstock. And, once an elegant and sophisticated socialite, lost everything she had to boast about overnight. Her son's failure, her husband's illness, and the family business teetering on the brink, each crisis overwhelmed her. And in the elite circles she'd cultivated her entire life, she could no longer hold her head high. Later, she sold off many of her jewels and properties, trying to fill the company's financial black hole, but it was all a drop in the ocean. After that, I heard no more news of her. As for Marcus, he was completely stripped of his inheritance and cast out of the Vance family. He came to find me a few times, each time more down and out than the last. He was no longer the arrogant golden boy, just an ordinary man who had lost everything. He told me "I love you" over and over, repenting repeatedly. But as I looked at him, he felt like a stranger. Love? Perhaps what he loved was merely an accessory, compliant and subservient, serving only to highlight his own superiority. Not the independent Grace standing before him, whose radiance even outshone his own. The last time I saw him was at the coffee shop downstairs from my company. He asked to meet, saying he had something to return to me. He handed me a box containing some scattered personal items I had left at his place and forgotten to take. And also, the first designer bag he had ever given me. "Grace, I wish you happiness." As he spoke, the obsession was gone from his eyes, replaced only by a resigned calm. I nodded. "You too." This wish was sincere. I hoped he could also find his own path, rather than living in the shadow of his family's prestige and past. Between us, it was over. We would go our separate ways. A year later, Epiphany Op. Aimed its first overseas branch in Paris. At the celebration reception along the Seine, Mr. Robert smiled and asked me, "Grace, are you ready for the IPO next?" I raised my glass and lightly clinked it with his. I gazed at the brilliantly lit Eiffel in the distance and smiled. My journey had just begun. This time I was living for myself, radiant. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.